Circle of Competence. I'm your host, Matthew, from Recaro Capital. This is not financial advice, purely for educational purposes only. Here's what we're going to cover today. First, we'll define what Circle of Competence means. Then we'll talk about the dangers of leaving your Circle of Competence. After, we'll explain how to find your Circle of Competence and how to expand it. And finally, we'll look at the best ways to use Circle of Competence. The world is obsessed with being the smartest in the room. Warren Buffett became one of the richest men in the world by knowing exactly what he didn't know. Why do smart people still make dumb investing decisions? How do the world's best investors stay humble and still outperform? And is intelligence actually less important than knowing what you know? Today, we'll deep dive into the principles at the heart of Buffett and Munger's success, Circle of Competence. Stick with us. It's only in the past decade that Buffett has even touched tech. This is not because it wasn't profitable, but he didn't understand everything from the multiples to the margins. It wasn't until his first success in great branded businesses such as Coke and See's Candy and Charlie's buy amazing companies at good prices did Buffett truly see the value in Apple. But he knew when he saw it, the model fell straight into his Circle of Competence. But even Buffett gets overconfident and pays the price. There is Dexter shoes company. Buffett bought Berkshire shares, but it went to zero. He admits that he didn't fully understand the competitive dynamics. So, what happens when you're outside your Circle of Competence? You get overconfident, you have false expectations of certainty, and you can make very expensive mistakes. For example, you have Terras convince some of the smartest people in the world to invest. But how did this happen? Because it was in biotech. But who truly understands that industry apart from a few specialists? And then you have WeWork. The big names backed it because they thought it was disruption, but leasing offices isn't software. The cost of stepping outside your Circle of Competence isn't just money, it's also your credibility. And there's nothing more valuable than that. But if you can't go outside your Circle of Competence, can you expand it? Absolutely, but it takes work. Buffett slowly expanded his Circle of Competence from retail, banks, to eventually tech and much more, by studying and asking every question and being totally honest with himself. And so can you. But there's a difference between reading about an industry and understanding how it works, the cycles, the pitfalls, and how the profits are truly made. We have to truly understand the business before investing. Growth without ego is the value way. So, how do you know you're inside your Circle of Competence? Here's a few signs. You can explain the business model to a 10-year-old. You've seen the cycles, the booms and the busts, and you know where the bodies are buried. And here are some signs that you're outside. You're relying on hype. You can't name the company's true risks, and you're following others to not your own thesis. Mental models and practice watching the market and specific industries are what creates your edge. Expand your Circle of Competence. Munger strategies help create a stretch in your boundaries while still understanding. Buffett screens businesses miraculously, meticulously even. If it's not the circle, if it's not in his circle, it goes in the too hard pile. It's not just about safety. With limited time, it's also about focus. When you stay with what you know, your conviction increases, and so does your margin of safety. Some investors use a checklist. like this. Do you understand what drives the cash flows? Is the industry in your history of success? And would you put 50% of your net worth here? If not, then it's a no, and you have to move on. So, what is your personal circle of competence? What industries should you avoid like the plague? And what is one painful lesson that has taught you about your limits? Buffett says, it's not a competency if you don't know your boundaries. Humility is a superpower in investing. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and share with a friend.